Hey tribe, welcome back. We're going to start a series here. We're going to go through the book by Neville Goddard, Out of This World. And, like I said before, when I do like book reviews like this, I'm kind of very hesitant to do a book review like this just because, everybody does them, you know what I mean? But I wanted to reread this book and I thought, you know what, if I'm going to reread it and I'm going to spend the time sitting down and rereading it myself, I might as well film a video. We might as well discuss it, you know what I mean? Because I do like Neville Goddard's this book right here, Out of This World, because I love how Neville Goddard explains things in this book. And it's very short. It's only 4 chapters. We're not going to do all 4 chapters here in this video. We're only do chapter 1, and chapter 1 is called Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. But it's one of those things where, if you follow Neville Goddard, you follow his material, we all know kind of all the stuff he teaches, but I just love how he explains things. Like in this book right here, I don't know, I just love how he explains it. I can't really tell you why, but it's one of those things like you can hear something 100 times, and the 101st time you hear it, a light bulb pops off. You finally get it. You have an aha moment. It could be somebody just gives you a different example and you have an aha moment. It doesn't change the whole concept. It doesn't change anything. It's just someone explained it in a different way that just kind of spoke to you in that moment where you really just get it. Okay, you get it beyond conception. Okay, you get it where it's going to change your life. Okay, that's what I mean. But other than that, let's kind of dive into chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. And let me put on my bad boy glasses here. And I got my water here. Remember, this is a one-take wonder, baby. When I do these types of videos, these aren't heavily edited videos, okay? One camera, one Chad, one take. But anyway, let's get going. And now I have told you before it came to pass that when it does come to pass, you might believe. This is out of John chapter 14, verse 29. I love this. I know I love this verse. I'll read it to you one more time. And now I have told you before it comes to pass that when it does come to pass, you might believe. Many persons, myself included, have observed events before they occurred. That is, before they occurred in this world of three dimensions. So all Neville Goddard is really talking about here when you think thinking fourth dimensionally is when we observe the world, the circumstances right now, that's your 3D world, okay? That's where all of our 5 senses comes from. You see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Okay, thinking fourth dimensionally to kind of catch you up a little bit is your 4D world. That's your imagination. Okay, that's all Neville Goddard is talking about. Since man can observe an event before it occurs in 3 dimensions of space, life on Earth must proceed according to plan. And this plan must exist elsewhere in another dimension and be slowly moving through space. If occurring events were not in this world, when they were observed, then to be perfectly logical, they must have been out of this world. And whatever is there to be seen before it occurs here must be predetermined from the point of view of man awake in the 3-dimensional world. Thus, the question arises, are we able to alter our future? Have you ever pondered that question? Maybe in a different way, not maybe exactly how Neville Goddard is saying here. I mean, are you able to alter your future? I mean, basically, are you able to change your circumstances? If you're in poverty right now, are you able to become wealthy? That's what he's saying. If you want your dream house, your dream car, and right now you don't have it, and in your mind you have no idea how in the world you could even have your dream house. Can you have it? Can you make it happen? Look at it like that. Don't look at it as, can we alter my future? You know what I mean? Like the Matrix. Okay, look at it more simple, but that's what Neville Goddard is meaning. If you don't like what's going on in your world, maybe you were brought up and there's generational poverty in your family, can you break generational poverty? Yes, you can. Okay, maybe you're just the middle class and you want to be wealthy. Maybe you have a job, you have a job, you're very successful at your job, but you want to be an entrepreneur. You understand? Okay, Are you able to alter those circumstances and be able to live life on your terms? Be able to do what you want. That's really what Neville Goddard is saying here. My object in writing these pages is to indicate possibilities inherent in man, to show that man can alter his future, but thus altered, it forms again a deterministic sequence starting from the point of interference, a future that will be consistent with the alteration. The most remarkable feature of man's future is its flexibility. I kind of like that, how he says that. He's a little bit talking a little bit deep, sophisticated a little bit. The most remarkable feature of man's future is its flexibility. What does that mean? It means you can bend reality. Okay, like basically what you're seeing in your 3D world is just a simulation. It can change. It can be altered. That's what he's saying. That's what he means by flexibility. Okay, it's not set in stone. What you're going through right now is not set in stone. Listen to this. What you're going through right now is temporary. The reason why it's temporary is because you can change it. You can alter it. If you don't like what's going on, you can change it, baby. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. It is determined by his, listen, I love this. It is determined by his attitudes rather than by his acts. How do you think of things? I love that. It's determined how your attitude than what your acts. I mean, what's your attitude around everything? What's your emotions around everything? Okay, if you go outside and get in your car and you notice you have a flat tire, do you have a mental meltdown over it? Okay, what's your attitude around when things happen like that? Do you just shake it off and think, okay, I'll just deal with it, fix the tire, call work, say I'm gonna be late, or maybe call off for the day? You think like, hey, it kept me off the freeway. It kept me safe. You know what I mean? Or do you have a mental meltdown saying how it's gonna set you back for the month? Okay, this stuff always happens to me. You get me on that. The cornerstone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself. What's your concept of yourself? I'll ask you some questions through here. Your concept of yourself is your self-image. It's how you look at yourself, view yourself, your confidence, your self-confidence. That's what Neville is asking, or what Neville is saying. He acts as he does and has the experiences that he does because his concept of himself is what it is, and for no other reason. Had he a different concept of self, he would act differently. Isn't that so true? Basically what he's saying, like, look at it this way. Like, if you were more self-confident, wouldn't you act differently? Wouldn't there be different circumstances in your life if you were more confident? Let's say you were more confident at work. Wouldn't you have a better outcome at work? Maybe have a different position, a higher position? That's what Neville Goddard is saying. Like, if you had a different self-concept of yourself, you would act differently, wouldn't you? If you were acting like the most successful version of you, wouldn't you act different? Wouldn't you make different decisions? A change of concept of self automatically alters his future. Listen, okay, this is how you bend reality. Let me change the colors here. He's putting so much in this tiny paragraph. Once you change your self-image, once you change your concept of yourself, listen, it automatically alters your future. It automatically has to come to you once you change within. That's what he's saying. Everything is from within out. And a change in any term of his future series of experiences reciprocates, alters his concept of self. Man's assumptions, which he guards as insignificant, produce effects that are considerable. Therefore, a man should revise his estimate of an assumption and recognize its creative power. Okay. Now he's brought up a lot of things in this, and this is kind of, Neville Goddard does this over and over and over. Like, he writes a paragraph when there's really so much meat and potatoes in one paragraph. Even in this sentence right here, you know, he's really talking about the imagination. He's talking about your assumptions. Now remember, what's the law of assumption? Law of assumption is what you believe to be true for you has to happen in your world. Okay, now once you assume something to be true for you, it has to happen. That's law. That's universal law. It has to happen. Okay. You can't stop it from happening. It has to happen. Okay. And then he brings up, let me change the color here. And then he brings up, you should revise. He brings up the revision technique, meaning like if you don't like anything, what's happening in your day, you can go in your imagination and revise that scene, replay that scene in your imagination how you wanted it to go. All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, has several outcomes. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. Okay. I'll just highlight the word consciousness because this is kind of getting deep a little bit when he's kind of talking about the 4D world here, thinking fourth dimensionally. Okay, and I know the way he's going is basically, let me reread it one more time and I'll tell you kind of what my thoughts are. Listen to this. All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, the reason why he says that is because your future is prepared in advance because you imagine your future first before it came to you. Then he says it has several outcomes. Listen, he goes deep a little bit. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. Okay, because look at it this way, with consciousness, this is going to get deep a little bit, but with consciousness, if I go inside my imagination and I think I'm wealthy, that there's a version of me within my consciousness that is wealthy. Okay. Now, at the same time, if I go on the other end of the spectrum and I start going on my side of my imagination and think scarcity and poverty, well, there's a version of me that's in poverty and scarcity within my consciousness. You know, if I go inside my imagination, I can see myself driving my dream car. Okay, there's a version of me that has my dream car. That's what he's saying. Once you can see it and think about it, there's a version of you inside your consciousness that has what you want. Okay, there's a version of you right now that's living your dream life. There's a version of you right now that's living life on their terms. Okay, doing everything that you want to do. There's a version of you doing that right now. That's what he's meaning. That's why I'm saying like Neville Goddard is going a little bit deep. Listen, there are two actual outlooks of the world possessed by everyone, a natural focus and a spiritual focus. The ancient teachers called the one the carnal mind, and I'll explain this in a second, and the other the mind of Christ. Now, what does he mean by this? Okay, the carnal mind is your conscious mind. That's your mind attached to your 3D world. That's your analytical mind, your thinking mind. Okay, your carnal mind is, you're driven by your five senses. See, hear, smell, taste, touch. That's your carnal mind. Your mind of Christ is your subconscious mind. Okay, now your subconscious mind is nicknamed the spiritual mind, but here Neville Goddard is calling your subconscious mind the mind of Christ. Okay, that's how the spirit talks to you, and it talks to you by intuition and gut feelings and stuff like that. We may differentiate them as ordinary waking consciousness, governed by our senses and controlled imagination. Okay, listen to that. Governed by our senses, which is your carnal mind, and controlled imagination, which is your mind of Christ, which is your subconscious mind. Governed by desire. We recognize these two distinct centers of thought in the statement. The natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, for they are spiritually discerned. The natural view confines reality to the moment called now. To the natural view, the past and the future are purely imaginary. Okay. Now, isn't this kind of so unique? Okay, first he's saying the natural view confines reality in a moment called now. He's talking about the present moment. This is why the present moment right here, you're watching this video, this is your most powerful moment, the present moment, right now. What you're doing right now, who are you being right now is your most powerful moment, okay? Then he's saying to the natural view, the past and the future are purely imaginary. Why is that? Why is your past imaginary? Because your past is done. Let the dead bury the dead. Okay. The only time the past, you're going back in your imagination and you're rethinking about the past. That's why he's saying your present moment, what you're going through right now is your present moment. That's your most powerful. You're going through it right now. But your past and future, all of it is through imagination. Okay, the future, what you want to do is in your imagination. And the past, because you have to think back in your imagination, is all imaginary. It's like a tongue twister, isn't it? But this is good information. Listen, the spiritual view, on the other hand, sees the concepts of time. It sees events as distinct and separated as objects in space. The past and future are the present whole to the spiritual view. Okay, I'll highlight this for you. The past and the future are a present whole to the spiritual view. I'll talk about this in a second. What is the mental and subjective to the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. He's using a bunch of wonderful words here. Okay. I know what it means, but this can get tricky to kind of like dissect here a little bit. Now, when he says like the past and the future are a present whole to the spiritual view, what he really means is really kind of what he's talking about is your past, present, and future and consciousness are all one. Okay. Your past is still creating your future. Why is that? Why would I say that? Your past right now, what's happened to you in the past, good or bad, is shaping your future right now. So why would Neville Goddard say your past is shaping your future? Is because lots of times as an adult, I just know, just me from talking to thousands of people, okay, is that most of the time when we think about our past, don't we kind of think negative? Isn't it kind of weird when we think about our past, even if we joke around about it? Remember, your subconscious mind don't take jokes, okay? It's just black and white. It doesn't know you're joking. That's one. But when we think about something in the past, it's kind of funny we think about negative. But when we think in the past and it's negative, we're in our imagination and that recreates it in our future. That's why your past keeps on recreating your future. That's why your past, present, and future and consciousness are one. That's what Neville Goddard is really saying here, but he's saying it kind of tricky a little bit. Then he goes on and he says, what is mental and subjective? Now, mental is your conscious mind. Subjective is your subconscious mind. He's using different language for the conscious and subconscious. To the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. Objective, again, is your 3D world, what you see in life right now. The habit of seeing only that which your senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. All he's saying here is, now we've heard people, maybe you've said this, maybe you had friends that say this, you hear someone say this, it's like, well, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. That's what he's saying. Okay, most people live like that. I don't believe it till it happens. I don't believe it till I see it. I'm not going to give the charities until I already have the money. Okay, the secret to it is, well, you need to act and be wealthy first. You need to do it first, then it will come to you. You understand? To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of our senses. He's talked about the 5 senses, and focus our attention on an invisible state, your imagination, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all of the distinctness of reality. So he's talking about you go inside your imagination, but you're really doing it. You're really there. If you're driving a car, you're really driving your car inside your imagination. That's why you always hear him say, your imagination, it should be so vividly real, you're actually doing it. Hey friends, just a quick little intermission here. We'll jump right back to the video. But if you're really trying to figure this stuff out, if you're really trying to live life on your terms, you really need to check out the description, because in the description is where I keep all the nuggets and all the resources. If you're new here, start right here. We got stuff like the power drops, which is totally free, by the way. We got the 30-day challenge. And of course, if you want to be part of the tribe, the link is here. And if you want to try to work with me, the link is right here as well. Like I said, my friends, if you really want to try to make this stuff happen, if you really want to live life on your terms, always keep up to date with the description because that's where all the nuggets are. Other than that, let's get back to the video. Earnest, concentrated thought focused in a particular direction shuts out other sensations and causes them to disappear. We have but to concentrate on the state desired in order to see it. The habit of withdrawing attention from the region of sensation and concentrating it on the invisible develops our spiritual outlook and enables us to penetrate beyond the world of sense and to see that which is invisible. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. Romans chapter 1, verse 20. This vision is completely independent of the natural faculties. Open it and quicken it. Without it, these instructions are useless. For these things of the Spirit are spiritually discerned. A little practice will convince us that we can, by controlling our imagination, reshape our future in harmony with our desire. This is the whole Neville Goddard technique right here. Okay. Imagination creates reality. Okay. I'll reread it one more time for you. A little practice will convince us that we can, by controlling our imagination, reshape our future in harmony with what we want, in harmony of what we desire, in harmony with our intention, in harmony. If you want that dream house, okay, you can control your imagination and you can reshape your future and you can have your dream house. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. Desire is the main spring of action. We could not move a single finger unless we had a desire to move it. No matter what we do, we follow the desire, which at the moment dominates our minds. Okay, isn't it so true? You know, what you really want, what you really want to do in life, that desire, that intention, it dominates your mind. That's all you can think about. Okay, that's how big your desire has to be. And sometimes, you know, and I'll say this, sometimes as an adult, especially if you're older, you've been beat up by life, whatever, you've been through great moments and bad moments, you've been through it all, you know. But one of the things I found is that we kind of lose that sense when we're a kid. We kind of lose that, even not as a kid, you know, a teenager. Okay, when we're in high school or even college, or we just graduated college, we look at life like we're going to put a dent in the universe until the rug is pulled out from under us. Okay, and at one time in our life, okay, we only did what we wanted to do, and we had strong desires. All day. That's the only thing we could think about. That's the only thing that would dominate our minds, is things we wanted to do, things we wanted. Okay. But, you know, somehow over time, over life, we kind of let that kind of dim. We let that light dim. We don't get excited over things that we want and want to do anymore. We kind of fluff it off. We don't think about it anymore. It doesn't dominate our minds. And what ends up dominating our minds is all the murmuring and complaining we do about life and what's going on in circumstances. You know what I mean? And that's why things keep on coming in our life that we really don't want. Let's go back to this. You see, when we break a habit, our desire to break it is greater than our desire to continue the habit. The desires which impel us to action are those that hold our attention. A desire is but an awareness of something we lack or need to make our life more enjoyable. Desires always have some personal gain in view. The greater the anticipated gain, the more intense is the desire. There is no absolutely unselfish desire. I love when Neville says this. Listen, there is no absolutely unselfish desire. Where there is nothing to gain, there is no desire, and consequently, no action. Now, and I don't know what Neville Goddard really meant by this. Maybe he'll explain it. But listen, there is no absolutely unselfish desire. I love that because it really goes into abundance is in all things. Our birthright is abundance. Okay. Abundance is divine. That means in all things, no matter if we perceive it as good or bad, there's abundance. Okay. You can ask for not too much. You know what I mean? That's why you want your dream house. You naturally, once you have your dream house, you naturally want a bigger house. You know what I mean? Because that's abundance. You always want to improve. And here Neville is saying there is no absolutely unselfish desire. You can have whatever you want. Okay. You understand. And the only reason I'm saying this over and over and over is because as an adult, we get so kind of programmed, or we kind of learn this directly or indirectly that oh, you shouldn't want that. You want what you want. Makes sense? We all want different things. It's like living life on your terms. Okay. It means something different for me than it means for you. We all don't want the same thing, but that's okay. What I want in life is not better than what you want in life, and what you want in life is not any better than what I want in life. It's on the same scale. You understand? Everything's on the same scale in the world of consciousness. The spiritual man speaks. Let's get into this again. I jumped into it right away. The spiritual man speaks to the natural man through the language of desire. The key to progress in life and to fulfillment of dreams lies in ready obedience to its voice. He's talking about intuition here. He's talking about gut feelings. This is what I like to call it intuitive action. Okay. Well, once you have a desire, once you want to do it, once you just think about it over and over and over, and that dominates your mind, you're going to have an intuition. You're going to have a gut feeling to do something that takes you closer to what you want. Take action on it. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. Unhesitating obedience is its voice, is an immediate assumption of the wish fulfilled. To desire a state is to have it. Listen to this. He's going a little bit deeper. I love this. Listen. Now he's switching it up. He's basically saying, first, when you go inside your imagination, basically the first step to manifesting, you have to have a desire. You have to know what you want. And in order to know what you want, it's something you really, really want. It's something that dominates your mind. You want it so bad, you just naturally think about it over and over and over and over and over. Now he's switching gears a little bit. He's digging deeper a little bit. And he's saying to desire a state is to have it. Okay, what he's saying is, if you desire to have your dream house, you already have your dream house. If you have a desire, an intention to have your dream car, you already have your dream car. Now he's digging deeper. He's taking it a step further. As Pascal has said, you would not have sought me had you not already found me. Man, by assuming the feeling of his wish fulfilled and then living and acting on his conviction, alters the future in harmony with his assumption. I love that. I want to talk about that. Let's end right here in green. Let's reread this. Let's kind of go through it, not too slowly. Okay, but this video is already 30 minutes. We're maybe only at like halfway through the chapter. Okay, as Pascal has said, you would not have sought me had you not already found me. Then he says, man, you, me, by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled and then living and acting on this conviction, what he's meaning, by assuming the feeling of wish fulfilled, what's your assumption is what you believe to be true has to come to me, has to come to you or me. If you want your dream house, what he's saying is, he's basically saying living in the end. Okay, you're living and acting on your conviction. Okay, you're living and acting like you already have your dream house. Okay, you're dwelling therein in your dream house. You already have it right now today. So when he says acting on the conviction, he's talking about your intuition and gut feelings. Because once you have an intuition to do something, you take action on those convictions, and those leads you closer to what you want. It either leads you straight there, or it's another puzzle piece. It takes you closer. Once you move closer, you're having another intuitive nudge to do something, and you follow it. Assumptions awaken what they affirm. As soon as man assumes the feeling of his wish fulfilled, his fourth dimension, his 4D world, self finds ways for the attainment of this end, discovers methods for its own realization. I know I know of no clearer definition of the means by which we realize our desires than to experience in our imagination what we would experience in the flesh were we to achieve our goal. Let me highlight this. This is excellent. And this is it's right here. This experience of the end wills the means. With its larger outlook, the fourth dimension, the 4D self, then constructs the means necessary to realize the accepted end. Let's go back what I highlighted in yellow here. Listen very closely. I know of no clearer definition of the means by which we realize our desires, meaning that like how to get what you want, how to live life on your terms, how to get that dream house. I'll use that as an example. Then to experience in your imagination. You go inside your imagination, you want your dream house, but when you go inside your imagination, is you would experience it in the flesh. Like how in your imagination, how would you experience it if you really had it right now? That's what he's saying. But you're inside your imagination. You're bringing all your 5 senses with you. See, hear, smell, taste, touch. You're actually living in your dream house right now inside your imagination. You're making it so vividly real that it's like you're really there. Okay. That's what he's really saying. Then he continues on. The undisciplined mind finds it difficult to assume a state which is denied by the senses. He's talking about the 5 senses again. Here is a technique that makes it easy to encounter events before they occur, to call things which are not seen as though they were. People have a habit of slighting the importance of simple things. But this simple formula for changing the future was discovered after years of searching and experimenting. Right here, baby. The first step in changing the future is desire. That is, define your objective. What do you really, really want? Okay, you got to define that. You have to know exactly what you want. Know definitely what you want. Secondly, construct an event which you believe you will encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. An event which implies fulfillment of your desire, something that will have the action of self predominant. Okay, what he's saying, like, construct the scene. If you want your dream house, you already have your dream house right now. You already live in your dream house right now. So he's saying, build a scene in your imagination that is so real, you already have it right now. You construct this scene, okay? You know how big your dream house is. You know how many rooms it has. You know all the furniture it has. You know if you have a swimming pool or not. You know, you already know everything is designed in your imagination. You're making it so vividly real inside your imagination. That's what he's saying. Now, number 3, he's saying immobilize the physical body and induce a condition akin to sleep. So what he's saying is, you know, either you don't have to go to bed at night. Okay. You can just go in your living room, sit in your recliner, get crazy relaxed. Now, the state akin to sleep is kind of that. It's the state where you're not fully asleep, but you're not fully awake either. You're basically super, super tired. Okay. But you're not fully asleep yet, but you're not fully awake. You're just so relaxed where you don't want to move. You understand? It's almost that meditative state. So he says, immobilize the physical body and induce a condition akin to sleep. Lie on your bed or relax in a chair and imagine that you're sleepy. And then with your eyelids closed and your attention focused on the action you intend to experience, in imagination, mentally feel yourself right into the proposed action, imagining all the while that you're actually performing the action here and now. So if you want your dream house, you're actually living your dream house. You're actually walking from room to room, doing things, what you would actually really be doing if you had your dream house right now. That's what he's talking about. You must always participate in the imaginal action. You listen to him. You must always participate in your imagination, meaning you're doing things, you're talking to someone, you have your friends over, you're doing something. You're not just watching yourself walk through your house, you're actually doing stuff. You're actually living there. You're maybe having a birthday party there. Your friends are over. You're having a pool party. You're actually participating in your imagination. That's what he's saying. That's why he says you must always participate in the imaginal action, not merely stand back and look on, but you must feel that you're actually performing the action so that the imaginary sensation is real to you. Okay. And I wanted to say something. Let me find. I kind of skipped over it because I didn't want to break up what Neville was saying here. Let me just find what I wanted to say. Lie on a bed or relax in a chair. Then you close your eyes. No, that one. Imagination. Okay, feel yourself. Okay, where was it? Immobilize. Okay, here. Now, I don't know if Neville's going to go on with this in this book. Okay, one of the things I catch in other books is Neville Goddard didn't just like lay down and go right into his imagination. I know some people kind of teach that where maybe you lay down before you go to bed and you go right in your imagination, or you sit in your chair, close your eyes, and you go right into your imagination. What Neville Goddard really did, and this is in a lot of his books, okay, and I caught it here, is when he says you lay on the bed or relax in a chair and imagine that you're sleepy. You see what he did? Imagining you're sleepy. He's purposely putting himself in a sleepy state first. Okay, he's almost trying to put himself. He's kind of trying to like self-induce kind of I'm gonna have a brain fart here, like a meditation. Like hypnosis. He's trying to kind of self-induce a hypnosis, like self-hypnosis on himself, like laying down. And he, like lots of times he would even repeat like, I'm sleepy, I'm getting sleepy. And he would purposely put himself into a sleepy state. Once he hit that sleepy state, okay, that's a state akin to sleep. Once he hit that sleepy state, that's when he went into his imagination. He didn't do it right away. Okay, he purposely would lay down or sit in his chair. And like he said here, imagine yourself sleepy. And sometimes he would say, even repeat it out loud, I'm sleepy, I'm relaxed. Then once you hit that state akin to sleep, that in between, that's when he triggered his imaginal scene. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you guys because a lot of people don't explain it like this. Okay. It is important always to remember that the proposed action must be one that follows the fulfillment of your desire, and also you must feel yourself into the action until it has all the vividness and distinctiveness of reality. All Neville means by this is that you're living in the end. You go straight to the end. Okay. What I mean here, if you want your dream house, it's not about you going inside your imagination, figuring out how you got your dream house. You're not going inside your imagination and talking to your real estate person. You're not going inside your imagination and figuring out how you afforded your mortgage payments, or how you got the money to put down for your dream house, or how you got the money to buy your dream house. Okay, that's not living in the end. Okay, that's the issue that we kind of do. We go into our imagination, but we're trying to figure out the how at the same time. You need to go straight to the end. You already have it. You sometimes, for me, I gotta repeat. I already have. Okay, you already have. No matter what it is you want. You want to be wealthy. You're already wealthy right now. If you want to be a millionaire, well, you're a millionaire right now, baby. Okay, you already have it. It's not about how you got it. You already have it right now. So that's what Neville is saying. You already have it right now. How would you act right now, today? Okay, and then the next step is when you go inside your imagination, you're making it so flippin' real. You're really doing it. Okay, you're talking to people inside your imagination. You're talking to your family, your best friends. You're having a party. Maybe you're sitting in a lounge chair by your pool, sipping on coffee. You're bringing in your five senses. Okay, like I can smell the coffee. Okay, because if I drink coffee or espresso, I already know what it smells like. So even with me talking about me smelling and going inside my imagination and thinking about it right now, I can actually smell coffee. Even though I don't have it with me right now, I can smell it. Okay, that's what you got to do inside your imagination. Then he gives us an example. He said, for example, suppose you desired promotion in office, okay, in your office at your job. Being congratulated would be an event you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. So what he's saying in this example is that, let me take a sip of water, is that at work, okay, your desire, you want to be promoted, okay, you want any type of promotion at work. You want to be a supervisor, manager, whatever, okay, you want a promotion at work. So when you go to the end, in your imagination, people will be congratulating you that you got your promotion. That's going straight to the end. Okay, that's what he's saying.
Really quick here, friends. Do you want a challenge that's going to make every dream of yours come true?
You see, my friends, the issue is when you start trying to live life on your terms, you're doing everything right. See, that's the problem. That's how you feel. You're trying your hardest, but nothing is changing. Now, in the challenge, there's no fluff, there's no hype. It's just real transformation delivered daily. We are going to the core. We are going to the root cause why things are not working for you. All you got to do is go to the description, click see more. Everything will pop up and you will see the 30-day breakthrough challenge. Click the link and it will take you right over to that. Okay, I'll reread it one more time really fast so kind of catch up in this paragraph. For example, suppose you desired a promotion at work. Being congratulated would be an event you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. Having selected this action as the one you will experience in imagination, immobilize the physical body. Okay, right here is kind of saying how to do it again. Immobilize your physical body and induce a state akin to sleep, a drowsy state, but one in which you are still able to control the direction of your thoughts, a state in which you are attentive without effort. Now imagine that a friend is standing before you. Put your imaginary hand into his. Feel it to be solid and real. Then carry on an imaginary conversation with him in harmony with the action. Do not visualize yourself at a distance in a point of space and at a distant end point of time being congratulated on your good fortune. Instead, make elsewhere here and the future now. The future event is a reality now in the dimensionally larger world. And oddly enough, now in a dimensionally larger world is equivalent to here in the ordinary 3D world. Space of everyday life. The difference between feeling yourself in action here and now, okay, I'm right here. The difference between feeling yourself in action here and now and visualizing yourself in action as though you were on a motion picture screen is the difference between success and failure. Okay. Because he's doing some run-on sentences in this paragraph here. He's changing thoughts here. Okay, now this in yellow, he's really describing why it's not working. Okay, but first, I hate to do this to you, but first, because I thought maybe he would flow in a one flow point, but he didn't. He switched it up. Okay, but I really wanted to point something out here. Oh, okay, because it's all about. Okay, I know what I want to point out is that when he went into his imagination, okay, one of the things he did was that he, inside his imagination, whoever it was he was talking to, was it a close friend, a significant other, a parent, a sibling, okay, a good friend at work, in his imagination, he grabbed their hand. He made it sensory real. Like if you grab somebody's hand, you know what it feels like. And in your imagination, you know what it feels like. That's what he means by making it vividly real. Okay, once you do something like that, you're actually doing in your imagination. It makes it so real for you. Okay, like for example, pretend like somebody in your imagination, pretend like somebody handed you a rose, and you picked up the rose from them. And you smelled it. Can you smell the rose? You understand, we all know what roses smell like. And you can smell it in your imagination like you actually have it real right in front of you. So that's what he means. That's what I wanted to point out. Like he actually grabbed the person's hand and had a conversation with them. Maybe you were shaking their hand and they're congratulating you, but you can feel their hand in your imagination. That's what he's saying. Then in yellow down here, now he's saying why it don't work. He's kind of explaining why it doesn't work. Okay, why? Okay, the issue that most people have with their imagination. That's what he's talking about here. He says the difference between feeling yourself in action, here and now, in your imagination, and visualizing yourself in action as though you were on a motion picture screen. Okay, what he's saying is that most of the time when we go into our imagination, it's like we're watching a movie, but we're in it. Okay, isn't it weird when we go into our imagination? It's like I'm kind of up on the ceiling somewhere looking down at myself. Like I'm up on the ceiling somewhere looking down and I'm seeing myself drive my dream car. Okay, that's what Neville Goddard is saying. You're visualizing yourself in action. Okay, you're just looking at yourself doing something, but you're not actually doing it. Okay, you're not actually doing it here and now. You're not actually in your dream car. You can feel your dream car. You can feel the steering wheel. As I shift, I can actually shift it. I can feel the engine when I'm inside the car. I can hear it. You know what I mean? That's I'm bringing in my five senses, but I'm actually doing it. Okay, this is the difference between it working and not working. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. Let's move on. Desire, physical immobility bordering on sleep. He's talking about state akin to sleep again. Okay, what the state you have to be in when you go inside your imagination. Desire, physical immobility bordering on sleep. You're not totally asleep. You're in between. You're kind of in the drift. You're in between, you're sleepy, you're in between consciousness and sleep. You're not fully asleep, you're not fully conscious, but you're awake enough to guide your imagination. So desire, the physical immobility bordering on sleep, an imaginary action in which self-fulfilling predominates here and now, are not only important factors in altering the future, but they are essential conditions in consciously projecting the spiritual self. If, when the physical body is immobilized, we become possessed of the idea to do something and imagine that we are doing it here and now and keep the imaginary action feelingly going right up until sleep ensues. So right here, this is why when everybody teaches Neville Goddard and they teach imagination creates reality and they teach the bedtime routine, is you're not going to sleep 30 minutes before you go to bed. Okay, nowhere in Neville's writings or books that I have found, listening to all his live lectures and stuff like that over years, I have found that he said go to bed 30 minutes before you go to bed and lay there and think and go inside your imagination and develop your attention and just lay there until you go to sleep. Okay, that's the ultimate mistake you guys are doing. Okay, it's literally like if you don't go to bed and do this, okay, you go to bed 5 or 10 minutes before you go to sleep, and when you lay down, the first thing he does again is he puts himself in a sleepy state. Okay, he gets himself in that sleepy state, then he knows that feeling of the state akin to sleep. He knows when he's there. He knows when he's not fully asleep, he's not fully awake, but he's aware enough. He's in that drift. He's aware enough that he can still guide his imagination. He can still control his imagination. Okay, that's what Neville Goddard is talking about. Okay, that honestly might only be 5 minutes before you go to sleep. Okay, and then what he's saying is, okay, for these 5 minutes, for example, is that you're inside your imagination the whole 5 minutes until you drift off to sleep. Okay, you literally drift off to sleep, you imagining you have your dream house. That's the goal, okay? But how people teach it is that they want you to go to bed 30 minutes, 40 minutes before you go to sleep, and you lay in bed for 40 minutes and do this stuff. I mean, yes, it helps develop your attention that you can sit there and be in your imagination for long periods of time. Yes, it helps with that, 100%. But that's not what Neville Goddard taught. Okay, not right here, okay? Listen, we are likely to awaken out of the physical body to find ourselves in a dimensionally larger world with a dimensionally larger focus and actually doing what we desired and imagined we were doing in the flesh. But whether we awaken there or not, we are actually performing the action in the 4D world. So when Neville Goddard keeps on saying we're actually performing the action in a 4D world, what he's meaning is, okay, you already have what you want in your 4D, in your imagination. You actually have what you want. Okay, you still carry on with your life in your imagination. Okay, if you have your dream house, what would you be doing right now if you had your dream house? You design your life as if you have your dream house right now in your imagination. What would you be doing if you had your dream car right now? You would be driving it. Where would you be going? Where would you be driving? And in your imagination, you're actually doing it. Okay, if you want your dream life, going on vacations, taking your dream vacations, you do the same thing. Where do you want to go? Where's your dream vacation? And you're actually there and you're actually on vacation doing it, sitting on a beach, sipping your pina colada. What does it taste like? You can smell it. Okay, it's the best pina colada in the world you ever had in your life. Okay, you need to make it so real. Okay, that's what he's saying. Let's move on here. Experience has taught me to restrict the imaginary action, to condense the idea, which is to be the object of our meditation, into a single act, and to react it over and over again until it has the feeling of reality. He's talking about your imagination. You just keep on doing it over and over and over again. It's like practice makes perfect. And he does it so much, okay, night after night, and he keeps on doing it until he says, right here at the end, you keep doing it until it has the feeling of reality. You keep replaying your imaginal scene night after night until it feels so real to you that you already have what you want. That's what Neville Goddard is saying. Then he says, otherwise, the attention will wander off along an associational track, and the host of associated images will be presented to our attention. In a few seconds, they will lead us 100 miles away from our objective in point of space and years away in point of time. If we decide to climb a particular flight of stairs because that is the likely event to follow the realization of our desire, then we must restrict the action to climbing the particular flight of stairs. Should our attention wander off, we must bring it back to the task of climbing that flight of stairs and keep on doing so until the imaginal action has all the solidarity and distinctiveness of reality. The idea must be maintained in the field of presentation without any sensible effort on our part. Everything should be effortless. That's what he's saying. You're not forcing anything. Everything should be effortless. Everything should be just natural. You're so natural. It's yours. We must, with a minimum of effort, permeate the mind with the feeling of wish fulfilled. Now, this whole paragraph, kind of what I read through kind of very fast. Okay. He's really talking about when we lay down or we go inside our imagination, even if we're going to sleep or not, our mind's going to wander. Okay. That's why he's saying you're thinking about climbing a flight of stairs. Then your mind drifts off and thinks about, well, what do I want for dinner? Then you become aware that you're not thinking about your desire and you bring it back to thinking about climbing the flight of stairs. So if you want your dream house, you're in your imagination, living in your dream house, then you start thinking about work tomorrow. Then you realize what you did and you bring it back to your imagination of your dream house. That's what he's talking about. Okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. Okay. Our mind's going to drift and we bring it right back. That's what he's talking about. Then he keeps on hammering this, okay? Drowsiness facilitates change because it favors attention without effort. See, this is why he's trying to get you sleepy. This is why, he's not doing a meditation. He's not fully awake. Even if he lays down and to go to bed at night, he's purposely getting himself in a sleepy state. Once he's in that sleepy state, that state akin to sleep, what he calls it, that's when he triggers and starts thinking about his imagination, okay? That's why he says drowsiness facilitates change because it favors attention without effort. Okay, it takes no effort. Okay, when you're drowsy, Like you just so relaxed, you don't want to move. Okay. Everything is effortless. Everything's lovely. Everything's abundance. Everything feels great. Your mind's at ease and you just go inside your imagination. But he says, but it must not be pushed to the stage of sleep in which we shall no longer be able to control the movements of our attention, but rather a moderate degree of drowsiness in which we are still able to direct our thoughts. That's a state akin to sleep. Like you're sleepy, you still can direct your thoughts, direct your imagination, but you're not too sleepy where you can't do that. Okay. When you're too sleepy, you're gonna go to sleep right away. Okay. A most effective way to embody a desire is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and then in a relaxed and sleepy state, repeat over and over like this. I love. This is actually Joseph Murphy from The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Okay. He's talking about right here. Listen to this. Okay. The most effective way to embody a desire is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and then in a relaxed, sleepy state, repeat over and over again, like a lullaby, any short phrase which implies fulfillment of your desire, such as thank you. No, thank you has so much gratitude. Like he's laying back, he's in his sleepy state, and he's just repeating to himself over and over and over, thank you. And in your imagination, thank you for your dream house. Thank you, Lord, you gave me my dream house. Thank you. I'm so grateful for my dream house. And you're inside your imagination, living and doing things in your dream house. And he would just repeat it over and over and over. Okay. Okay. This right here really feels like Joseph Murphy from The Power of the Subconscious Mind, because Joseph Murphy was kind of the king of affirmations. And this is what Joseph Murphy would teach right here. Is you do things like a lullaby. You just repeat it over and over and over and over and over in a relaxed, sleepy state. And this is another way to get to the state akin to sleep. This is another way to kind of trigger your imagination. Okay, he's just giving you a different way. And let me finish reading this. Okay, so you repeat over and over and over like a lullaby, any short phrase which implies fulfillment of your desire, fulfillment of what you want, such as thank you, as though we addressed a higher power for having done it for us. If, however, we seek a conscious projection into a dimensionally larger world, then we must keep the action going right up until sleep ensures. So basically saying, kind of funny, okay, sophisticated, you do this until you drift off to sleep. Okay, you're repeating thank you and thank you. You go inside your imagination what you're thankful for, and you see, and you're actually doing it in your imagination until you drift off to sleep. Experience and imagination with all the distinctiveness of reality, what would be experienced in the flesh were you to achieve your goal, and you shall in time meet it in flesh as you met it in your imagination. Isn't it so wonderful? What Neville Goddard is saying is that what you see in your imagination, you can have in your 3D world, but he's taking it deeper here, is everything you see in your imagination, okay, like for like, you can have in your 3D world. Every ounce of how you see it, how you constructed it, how you construct your imaginal scene can happen in your 3D. He says, feed the mind with premises, that is, assertions presumed to be true, because assumptions, though unreal to the senses, is, if persisted in until they have the feeling of reality, will harden into facts. To an assumption, all means which promote a realization are good. It influences the behavior of all by aspiring in all the movements, the actions, and the words which tend towards its fulfillment. Okay, that's a law of assumption right there. What you assume to be true for you has to come into your 3D world, has to come into your reality. But what he's saying here, if you assume to be true, if you assume that you have your dream house and you keep doing it over and over and over and over and over, if persisted in, 100% is going to become a fact, because you're going to believe it true for you. You're really going to believe that you really have your dream house. And once you really believe it true for you, that's when it's going to come to you. To understand how man molds his future in harmony with his assumption, we must know what we mean by a dimensional larger world, for it is the dimensionally larger world that we go to alter our future. The observation of an event before it occurs implies that the event is predetermined from the point of view of man in the three-dimensional world. Okay, now he's basically saying everything that's happening in your life, he's saying it kind of funny, but everything that's happening in your life right now, all the circumstances you're going through right now, in the present time, good or bad, is predetermined, meaning that you're predestined to go through it. The reason why you're predestined to go through it because you've imagined it in the past, and that's what's happening in your future right now. That's what's happening in present moment right now because you've thought about it sometime in your past. That's why it's predetermined. That's why it's predestined to happen because we imagined it to happen. That's what he's saying. Therefore, to change the conditions here in the three dimensions of space, we must first change them in our four dimensions of space. So here, the last sentence here, he's basically saying, in order for you to change your conditions, in order for you to change your circumstances you're going through, how you do it is go within. So you don't change it in your 3D world. You don't change the circumstances itself. You change it in your imagination. You change it in your imagination. You see it in your imagination. You change it in your imagination, and it has to follow suit. Once you change it here, it has to follow suit to your 3D. Man does not know exactly what is meant by a dimensionally larger world and would no doubt deny the existence of a dimensionally larger world or a dimensionally larger self. He is quite familiar with the three dimensions of length, width, and height, and he feels that if there were a fourth dimension, if there were a 4D world, it should be just as obvious to him as the dimensions of length, width, and height. A dimension is not a line, it is any way in which a thing can be measured that is entirely different from all other things or all other ways. That is, to measure a solid 4D, we simply measure it in any direction except that of its length, width, and height. Is there any other way of measuring an object other than those of its length, width, and height? Time measures my life without employing the three dimensions of length, width, and height. There is no such thing as an instantaneous object. Its appearance and disappearance are measurable. It endures for a definite length of time, which we can measure its lifespan without using the dimensions of length, width, and height. Time is definitely a fourth way of measuring an object. The more dimensions an object has, the more substantial and real it becomes. A straight line which lies entirely in one dimension acquires shape, mass, and substance by the addition of dimensions. What new quality would time, the 4D, give, which would make it just as vastly superior to the solids of solids are to surfaces and surfaces are to lines? Time is a medium for changes in experience because all changes take time. The new quality is changeable. Observe that if we bisect a solid, its cross-section will be a surface. By bisecting a surface, we obtain a line, and by bisecting a line, we get a point. This means that a point is but a cross-section of a line, which is, in turn, by a cross-section of a surface, which is, in turn, but a cross-section of a solid, which is, in turn, if carried to its logical conclusion, but a cross-section of a fourth dimensional object. We'll get to a point here for a second. This is when Neville Goddard goes very sophisticated, very deep into consciousness. We cannot avoid the inference that all three-dimensional objects are but cross-sections of 4D bodies, which means when I meet you, I meet a cross-section of the 4D you, the 4D self that is not seen. To see the 4D self, I must see every cross-section or moment of your life from birth to death and see them all as coexisting. My focus should take in the entire array of sensory impressions which you have experienced on earth, plus those you might encounter. I should see them not in the order in which they were experienced by you, but as a present whole, because change is the characteristic of the 4D. I should see them in a state of flux as living, animated whole. If we have all this clearly fixed in our minds, what does it mean to us in this 3D world? Now he's getting to like, what in the world is Neville Goddard talking about? It means that if we can move along time's length, we can see the future and alter it as we so desire. This world, which we think so solidly real, is a shadow out of which and beyond which we may at any time pass. It is the abstraction from a more fundamental and dimensionally larger world. A more fundamental world abstracted from a still more fundamental and dimensionally larger world, and so on to infinity. The absolute is attainable by any means or analysis, no matter how many dimensions we add to our world. Man can prove the existence of a dimensionally larger world simply by focusing his attention on an invisible state and imagining that he sees and feels it. Okay, all he's really doing is kind of really going back and forth, kind of digging really deep into our 3D world, what's kind of ruled to our senses, see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And it's kind of like on the measure of, I don't, unless I see it, unless I'm really going through it, unless I'm experiencing it, then I don't believe it. Okay, your 4D world is unseen. Okay, your 4D world is attached to your imagination. Okay, so he's connecting your 3D world and your 4D world. Okay, that's what he's really talking about. Okay, so man can prove the existence of a dimensionally larger world simply by focusing his attention on an invisible state, your imagination of what you want, your desire, and imagining what he sees and feels it. If he remains concentrated in this state, his present environment will pass away and he will awaken in a dimensionally larger world where the object of his contemplation will be seen as a concrete objective reality. Intuitively, I feel that were he to abstract his thoughts from his dimensionally larger world and retreat still farther within his mind, we would again bring about an externalization of time. He would discover that every time he retreats into his inner mind and brings about an externalization of time, space becomes dimensionally larger, and he would therefore conclude that both time and space are surreal, and that the drama of life is but the climbing of multitudinous dimensional time block. Scientists will one day explain why there is a surreal universe, but in practice, how we use the surreal universe to change the future is more important. To change the future, we need only concern ourselves with two worlds in the infinite series. The world we know by reason of our bodily organs. He's talking about your 3D world, and the world we perceive independently of our bodily organs, our 4D world. So Neville Goddard, kind of the last couple pages here, went really, really deep on the 3D and 4D. And there's even more dimensions beyond the 3D and 4D. But at the end, as he wraps up this chapter, he really basically comes back down to, well, the only thing you need to focus on, the only thing you need to understand here is right now, to kind of change your world, to change your circumstances, to live life in your terms, to live your dream life, is you only need to focus on your 3D world and your 4D world. Your 3D world is your world is present moment right now. Okay, what you're going through right now. Okay, that's your 3D world. That's your objective world. Okay. And then your 4D world is your subjective world. Okay, your 4D world is you enter it by your imagination. Okay, that's how you change. That's how you merge both worlds together. So he said those are the only two dimensions you really focus on. Okay, that's how he's summing up this chapter right here. But other than that, tribe, thanks for reading along with me. Of course, I was explaining it as I read along and stuff like this. But this chapter, he's really leading up to chapter 2. And I believe this first chapter here is the longest chapter. I believe the chapters get a little bit shorter because there's only 31 pages altogether, and we went through 13 pages already. So the other 3 chapters are a little bit shorter. So it won't be this long for the other 3 chapters, but he's really leading up to chapter 2. And I believe chapter 2 is Imagination Creates Reality. I'm guessing. Okay. I'll verify it real quick. Yeah, well, not Imagination Creates Reality. Chapter 2 is Assumptions Become Facts. Okay. And, with the first chapter, kind of thinking fourth dimensionally, I explained a lot, but he was kind of getting you ready for chapter 2. Really, chapter 2, 3, and 4 are really the meat and potatoes. But this one is really a strong introduction into Neville's work. But anyway, tribe, if you have questions on this, you can comment below. I love the questions. I'm very active in the comment section as well, and I'll help you out as much as I can. But anyway, peace, love. Remember, I love you guys, and I'll see you in chapter 2.